Chapter 1. Stop waiting to feel ready. The motivation trap. We have been lied to. We have been told that in order to do something great, or even something mundane, we first need to be inspired. We've been told that we need to find our spark, wait for the mood to strike, or wake up feeling fired up. We treat motivation like a mystical visitor that descends upon us, granting us the strength to finally start that business, write that book, or go to the gym. But here is the cold, hard truth. Motivation is a feeling. And feelings are the most unstable foundation you can build a life upon. Feelings change with the weather. They change based on what you ate for dinner last night or how much sleep you got. If you only work when you feel like it, you are at the mercy of your biology. You are a slave to your moods. Discipline is the opposite. Discipline is the ability to carry out a resolution long after the mood in which it was made has left you. It is the bridge between the goals you set in a moment of excitement and the results you achieve through weeks of boredom. You move first. Feelings follow. Action before emotion. Think about the professional athlete. Do you think a marathon runner feels like running 20 miles in the freezing rain at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday morning? Of course not. Their body is screaming for them to stay under the covers. Their mind is offering 1,000 logical reasons why one day off won't matter. But they don't consult their mind, and they don't check their pulse to see if they are feeling it. They put on their shoes. They tie the laces. They open the door. The amateur waits for the feeling of energy before they act. The professional acts, and through that action, the energy is created. This is the physiological reality of the human brain. Action creates momentum. When you start moving, your heart rate increases, your blood flows, and your neurochemistry shifts. You don't get ready to work by sitting on the couch thinking about working. You get ready to work by working. Consider the person who goes to the gym when they are exhausted. They feel weak, their joints are stiff, and their brain is foggy. But they step onto the treadmill or pick up the barbell anyway. Within 10 minutes, the fog clears. The blood starts pumping. By the end of the session, they feel more energized than they did when they arrived. The person who waited for the energy stayed on the couch and stayed weak. The person who moved first found the energy. If you are waiting to feel ready, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. Stop checking your internal weather report. It doesn't matter if it's raining inside your head. It doesn't matter if you feel tired, anxious, or uninspired. You move first. Feelings follow. The myth of the perfect moment. One of the most sophisticated forms of self-sabotage is the belief in the perfect moment. We tell ourselves that we will start when things calm down at work. We say we'll start the diet on Monday. We say we'll start the project after the kids are out of the house or after we've done just a bit more research. But look back at your life. Has there ever been a perfect moment? Has there ever been a time when the stars aligned, your schedule was clear, your bank account was full, and you felt 100% confident? No, because the perfect moment is a ghost. It doesn't exist. What we call waiting for the right time is actually just procrastination wearing a suit and tie. It is a way to feel productive without actually producing anything. Procrastination disguises itself as preparation. We buy the books, we watch the tutorials, we plan the strategy, but we never actually launch. We are perpetually preparing to start, but we never actually start. Every day you wait for the perfect moment is a day you have actively chosen to postpone your progress. You are not resting, you are stagnating. The truth is that ready is a decision, not a feeling. You are ready because you say you are ready. You are ready because you have decided that the pain of staying the same is finally greater than the fear of beginning. The most successful people in the world didn't start when they were ready. They started when they were terrified, broke, and unqualified, and they figured it out along the way. Start before you're ready. The waiting room of life. Most people spend their entire lives in the waiting room. They are waiting for a sign. They are waiting for permission. They are waiting for a guarantee that they won't fail. But life doesn't give guarantees. It only gives opportunities, and those opportunities have an expiration date. When you delay, you aren't just losing time. You are losing the version of yourself that could have existed by now. Imagine where you would be today if you had started a year ago. Imagine the strength, the skill, and the confidence you would have developed. That version of you exists in an alternate timeline, a timeline where you didn't wait. The only way to join that timeline is to kill the idea that you need more time to prepare. You have enough. You know enough. You are enough. The bridge between your current self and your ideal self is built with the bricks of immediate action. Start before you're ready. Identity over mood. How do you bridge the gap between I want to and I am doing it? You change the level at which you are operating. You stop operating at the level of mood and start operating at the level of identity. An amateur is driven by how they feel. A professional is driven by who they are. When you act based on your mood, you are inconsistent. If you feel good, you work. If you feel bad, you quit. This is the hallmark of someone who has no standards. But when you act based on identity, your behavior becomes a non-negotiable extension of your character. A person who identifies as a writer doesn't ask, "Do I feel like writing today?" They write because that is what a writer does. A person who identifies as disciplined doesn't ask, "Do I have the energy to finish this task?" They finish the task because that is who they are. The phrase "I don't feel like it" should be irrelevant to you. It is a noise made by the lower, lizard brain part of your mind that seeks only comfort and safety. But you are not a lizard. You are a creator. You are a builder. You are a person of standards. Standards versus goals. Goals are about what you want to achieve. Standards are about what you are willing to tolerate. Most people have high goals but low standards. They want the six-pack, but they tolerate the junk food. They want the $1 million business, but they tolerate the 8 hours of mindless scrolling. Discipline is the process of raising your standards until they match your goals. It is the shift from saying "I hope I do this" to "I am the type of person who does this." When your identity changes, your willpower becomes unnecessary. You don't need willpower to brush your teeth in the morning. You just do it because you are a person who values hygiene. When you commit to an identity of discipline, you stop negotiating with yourself. You don't have a meeting with your alarm clock in the morning to discuss whether or not you'll get up. The alarm goes off and you move. Why? I do it because it's who I am. The internal compass. When you stop waiting to feel ready, you gain a sense of power that most people will never know. You become an unstoppable force because you are no longer dependent on external conditions or internal emotions. You have an internal compass that points toward the work, regardless of the storm. This is the secret of the greats. They have trained themselves to be deaf to their own excuses. They hear the voice that says it's too hard or it's too early, and they acknowledge it, but they don't obey it. They treat that voice like background noise, like the sound of traffic or the hum of a refrigerator. It's there, but it doesn't change the mission. If you want to change your life, you must change your relationship with the feeling. You must learn to coexist with discomfort. You must learn to work while you are tired, to lead while you are afraid, and to start while you are uncertain. Today is not a rehearsal. This is the only life you get. Every hour you spend waiting for a feeling is an hour you are throwing into the trash. Stand up. Take the first step. Not because you want to, not because you feel like it, but because it is the requirement for the life you claim you want to live. You move first. Feelings follow. Start before you're ready. I do it because it's who I am. Summary of Chapter 1. Motivation is a myth. If you wait for it, you will be waiting forever. The action-emotion loop. Movement creates the neurochemistry of motivation. You cannot think your way into a new way of acting. You must act your way into a new way of thinking. The perfect moment is a trap. It is a form of productive procrastination. The only time that matters is now. Identity is the engine. Shift your self-talk from "I'm trying" to "this is who I am." Standards beat moods every single time. Chapter 2. Do the hard thing first. The law of resistance. There is a force in the universe that physicist Stephen Pressfield calls resistance. Resistance is an invisible, silent, and destructive energy that stands between you and your potential. It is the friction that occurs the moment you decide to move from a state of rest to a state of growth. Resistance is strongest when the task is most important. If you want to master discipline, you must understand that your brain is wired for survival, not for greatness. Survival cares about conservation of energy. Survival cares about comfort. Survival wants you to stay in the cave where it's warm. But greatness requires you to step out into the cold. The secret to conquering resistance is simple, but it is not easy. You must attack it head-on, immediately, before your mind has a chance to talk you out of it. You must do the hard thing first. Hard first. Easy later. Front-loading discomfort. Most people live their lives in reverse. They start their day by seeking the easy wins. They check their notifications, they scroll through social media, they clear out junk emails, and they organize their pens. They tell themselves they are warming up. They tell themselves they are clearing the deck so they can focus on the big project later. But willpower is a finite resource. It is like a battery that begins to drain the moment you open your eyes. Every decision you make, what to wear, what to eat, which email to delete, siphons off a little bit of that energy. By the time the average person sits down to tackle their most difficult, most important task at 2 p.m., their battery is at 10%. They are cognitively depleted. They are tired. And because they are tired, the hard thing looks 10 times harder than it actually is. Discipline means front-loading the pain. It means identifying the one task that carries the most weight, the one task you are dreading the most, and attacking it while your battery is at 100%. Think of the difference between an early morning workout and a late-night gym session. In the morning, the world is quiet, your mind is fresh, and you have no excuses yet. By 6 p.m., you've had a long day at work, you're hungry, you're stressed, and your brain is offering you a million reasons to skip. When you do the hard thing first, you win the day before the world even wakes up. When you save it for later, you are gambling with your future. Hard first, easy later. The compounding effect of avoidance. Avoidance is a debt collector that charges a massive interest rate. When you have a difficult conversation you need to have, or a complex report you need to write, and you put it off, that task doesn't stay the same size. It grows. It sits in the back of your mind like a browser tab that you can't close. It drains your background RAM. It creates a low-level hum of anxiety that follows you throughout your day. If you avoid a hard task for an hour, it becomes slightly more intimidating. If you avoid it for a day, it becomes a monster. If you avoid it for a week, it becomes a paralyzing wall of fear. Avoiding one hard task trains a specific muscle in your brain, the muscle of weakness. You are teaching yourself that you are the kind of person who retreats when things get difficult. You are training your nervous system to associate hard with not now. But when you attack the resistance early, something miraculous happens. The task that looked like a mountain turns out to be a molehill. The hard thing is rarely as painful in execution as it is in anticipation. The anxiety of thinking about the work is always worse than the fatigue of doing the work. Delay multiplies pain. The shadow work trap. Be wary of shadow work. Shadow work consists of all the tasks that feel like work but produce no results. It is the research that never ends. It is the planning that never reaches execution. It is the meetings that could have been emails. We engage in shadow work because it feels safe. It allows us to tell ourselves we are being disciplined while we are actually hiding from the hard thing. The hard thing is the work that actually moves the needle. It is the sales call you're afraid to make. It is the difficult chapter you need to write. It is the heavy set of squats. Discipline requires the brutal honesty to look at your to-do list and ask, which of these tasks am I doing just to feel busy, and which one am I avoiding because it's hard? Identify the hard one. Circle it. Put it at the top of the list. Do not allow yourself to touch anything else until that one is done. If it's hard, it's first. Rewiring your default. Human beings are creatures of habit. Right now, your default setting is likely to seek comfort. When you see a challenge, your brain's default is to flinch. You must rewire that default. You must train your brain to see hard as a green light, not a red one. Think of it like a cold shower. When you stand in front of that cold water, every fiber of your being wants to turn the handle to warm. The flinch is automatic. But if you force yourself to step in, day after day, without hesitation, the water doesn't get warmer, you just get stronger. You learn to embrace the shock. You learn to settle your breathing in the discomfort. Eventually, you start to crave the cold because you know the clarity that follows. This is how you must approach your work. When you see a task that makes you flinch, that flinch is your signal. That flinch is the universe telling you exactly what you need to do next. If you make a habit of choosing the path of most resistance in the morning, the rest of your day becomes a downhill slide. If you do the hardest thing at 8 a.m., then by 10 a.m., you are walking with the confidence of a conqueror. You have already won. The rest of the day is a victory lap. If it's hard, it's first. The momentum of victory. There is a psychological phenomenon known as the winner effect. When you experience a win, even a small one, your brain releases dopamine and increases testosterone. This changes your posture, your voice, and your willingness to take risks. By doing the hard thing first, you are hacking your own biology. You are starting your day with a massive win. That victory creates momentum. It makes the next task easier. It makes the third task effortless. Contrast this with the person who starts their day with easy. They do 5 easy tasks, but the hard thing is still hanging over their head. Even though they've checked things off their list, they don't feel like winners. They feel like fugitives. They are running from the inevitable. They are tired before they've even started. You do not have a time management problem. You have a courage problem. You have been trying to manage your minutes when you should have been managing your resistance. Stop trying to find more time and start finding more hard. Hard first. Easy later. Training the brain for growth. Every time you choose the hard path, you are physically changing the structure of your brain. You are strengthening the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control and long-term planning. You are weakening the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and comfort seeking. Discipline is the process of becoming the master of your own biology. It is the transition from being a reactive animal to being a proactive creator. It starts with the very first decision of the day. When you look at your day, don't ask, "What do I want to do?" Ask, "What is the hardest thing on this list?" Then, put your head down and drive through it. No music, no distractions, no coffee breaks until the monster is dead. The world belongs to the people who can do what is difficult without complaining. It belongs to the people who can look at a mountain and start climbing while everyone else is still arguing about which path to take. Hard first. Easy later. Delay multiplies pain. If it's hard, it's first. Summary of Chapter 2. The law of resistance. The more important a task is, the more your brain will try to avoid it. Cognitive load. Your willpower is highest in the morning. Use it for your most difficult work, not for chores. The debt of avoidance. Putting off a task makes it grow in your mind. The anxiety of avoidance is more painful than the work itself. The flinch rule. Use your internal resistance as a compass. If you are afraid of it or avoiding it, that is exactly what you must do first. Chapter 3. Eliminate excuses permanently. The language of failure. An excuse is a lie that you have convinced yourself is true. It is a protective layer of fiction designed to shield your ego from the painful reality of your own inaction. When we fail to meet our standards, we have 2 choices. We can admit we lack the discipline to follow through, or we can invent a story that makes the failure feel reasonable. Most people choose the story. They say, "I would have worked out, but I had a long day at the office." They say, "I would have started that business, but the economy isn't right." They say, "I would have been on time, but the traffic was terrible." Listen closely to the word "but." It is the pivot point where a person abdicates their power. Everything before the "but" is a lie. Everything after the "but" is an excuse. If you want to join the top 1% of performers in any field, you must perform a radical surgery on your vocabulary. You must cut out the buts. You must stop explaining your failures and start owning your results. No story, just action. Excuses are self-betrayal. Every time you make an excuse, you are committing an act of self-betrayal. You are telling your subconscious mind that your word is not bond. You are teaching yourself that your goals are negotiable and that your commitments are subject to change based on how you feel or what the world throws at you. Think about the damage this does to your self-trust. If you had a friend who constantly promised to help you move, or promised to show up for dinner, but always called at the last minute with a reasonable excuse, How long would you trust that friend? Not long. You would eventually stop relying on them. You would stop believing anything they said. Yet, this is exactly how most people treat themselves. They make a promise to wake up at 5 a.m., and when the alarm goes off, they make an excuse about needing more sleep. They make a promise to eat clean, and by lunch, they make an excuse about being too stressed to stick to the diet. Every skipped workout, every hit of the snooze button, and every cheat meal justified by a bad day is a withdrawal from your bank account of self-respect. Eventually, the account hits zero. You stop believing in your own ability to change. You become a stranger to yourself. Discipline is the process of rebuilding that trust. It begins when you decide that your word is law. It begins when you realize that a good reason for failing is still a failure. No story, just action. The narrative trap. Human beings are storytelling animals. We love to frame our lives as a series of events happening to us. We cast ourselves as the protagonists struggling against an unfair world. This narrative feels good because it absolves us of responsibility. If the world is unfair, then it's not my fault that I'm not successful. If my boss is a jerk, then it's not my fault I'm not getting promoted. But this narrative is a trap. It is a gilded cage. You might feel safe inside your excuses, but you are also stuck. You cannot fix a problem that you claim you didn't cause. If the reason you are failing is out there, then the solution must also be out there. And if the solution is out there, you are helpless. Discipline requires you to flip the script. It requires you to stop telling the story of why you couldn't and start stating the facts of what you didn't. Instead of saying, "I didn't get the project done because my kids were distracting me," say, "I didn't get the project done because I failed to manage my environment and my time." Instead of saying, "I can't lose weight because I have bad genetics," say, "I haven't lost weight because I have not been disciplined with my caloric intake." Facts are cold, but facts are actionable. Stories are warm, but stories are dead ends. No story, just action. Radical ownership. The antidote to the excuse is radical ownership. This is the philosophy that everything in your life, your health, your finances, your relationships, and your current state of mind is your responsibility. Does this mean everything is your fault? No, it is not your fault if a company lays you off. It is not your fault if you are born into poverty. It is not your fault if someone treats you unfairly. But it is your responsibility to decide how you respond. Responsibility is the ability to respond. When you blame external factors, you give them power over you. When you take ownership, you take the power back. The disciplined man looks at a failure and asks one question: what could I have done differently? He doesn't look for someone to point at. He looks for a way to improve. Even if the situation was 90% out of his control, he obsesses over the 10% that he could control. If you are late because of traffic, you don't blame the cars. You blame your failure to leave early enough to account for the possibility of traffic. If you fail a test, you don't blame the teacher. You blame your failure to study the material deeply enough to pass regardless of the questions asked. This level of ownership is terrifying to most people because it means they can no longer hide. But to the disciplined, it is the ultimate freedom. If it's your responsibility, then you are the one who can fix it. It's on me. The standard rule. Discipline is not a buffet. You don't get to pick and choose when to be disciplined based on the circumstances. If you only have discipline when things are going well, you don't have discipline, you have a hobby. To eliminate excuses permanently, you must establish the standard rule. A standard is a non-negotiable flaw for your behavior. It is a set of rules that govern your life regardless of your mood, the weather, or your stress levels. Most people operate on negotiables. They have a negotiable wake-up time. They have a negotiable work ethic. This means every single morning, they have to have a mental debate with themselves. Should I get up? Well, I stayed up late, and it's raining, and I have a headache, maybe just 30 more minutes. This mental debate is an energy killer. It drains your willpower before you even put your feet on the floor. The disciplined person eliminates the debate. They set a standard. If the standard is I work out every morning at 6 a.m., then there is no debate. It doesn't matter if they are tired. It doesn't matter if they are traveling. It doesn't matter if it's their birthday. The standard is the standard. When you make your habits non-negotiable, you stop wasting energy on excuses. You simply do the thing because that is what the rule dictates. Non-negotiable means non-negotiable. The no-matter-what mentality. To build an unbreakable life, you need a no-matter-what mentality. This is the refusal to allow circumstances to dictate your output. When you decide to write 1,000 words a day, it must be 1,000 words no matter what. If you have to stay up until 2 a.m. to get them done because your day was chaotic, you stay up. If you have to write them on your phone while waiting in line at the grocery store, you write them. The no-matter-what mentality is what separates the legends from the almosts. The almosts have great talent and great intentions, but they have an unless clause in their contract with themselves. I'll work hard unless I'm tired. I'll stay sober unless my friends pressure me. I'll be a good leader unless things get stressful. The disciplined person has no unless. They have a commitment, and a commitment, by definition, is something you do when the feeling you set it in has long since passed. It's on me, killing the someday virus. The most dangerous excuse of all is the one that sounds like wisdom. Now is not the right time. This is the someday virus. Someday, I'll get in shape. Someday, I'll fix my marriage. Someday, I'll start that project. Someday is a fantasy land where all your excuses are gone and your motivation is infinite. But someday never comes. The only day you have is today. The only time you have is now. If you find yourself saying, I'll start when. Stop yourself. That is an excuse in a tuxedo. There is no when. There is only the decision you make in this moment. Eliminating excuses isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about looking in the mirror and admitting that the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't have it. Burn the story. Kill the but. Take the wheel. No story. Just action. It's on me. Non-negotiable means non-negotiable. Summary of Chapter 3. The anatomy of an excuse. An excuse is a lie used to protect the ego. The cost of self-betrayal. Every time you make an excuse, you break the trust you have with yourself, leading to a loss of self-esteem. Radical ownership. You may not be at fault for your situation, but you are 100% responsible for your response to it. Non-negotiables. High performers don't negotiate with themselves. They set standards that are immune to moods or circumstances. Chapter 4. Master boring consistency. The novelty addiction. We live in a world that is addicted to the new. We want the newest phone, the newest workout trend, the newest productivity hack, and the newest secret to success. We are dopamine junkies, constantly looking for the next hit of excitement that comes with starting something different. But here is the reality of achievement that no one wants to put on a motivational poster. Success is boring. Real progress is not a series of cinematic breakthroughs. It is not a montage set to inspiring music. Real progress is the quiet, repetitive, and often mind-numbing work that happens when no one is watching, when there is no applause, and when the novelty has long since worn off. Discipline is the ability to stay focused on the same task, the same routine, and the same objective long after the excitement of the beginning has evaporated. If you cannot master the boring, you will never master your life. Boring works. Success is repetition. We often look at world-class performers, the concert pianist, the elite athlete, the billionaire CEO, and we imagine that their lives are a constant stream of high-level intensity and complex strategy. We assume they must have access to secrets that we don't. But if you look at their daily lives, you will find something surprising. They are more repetitive than the average person. The elite pianist does not spend all day playing complex concertos. They spend hours playing the same scales they learned when they were 6 years old. The elite shooter spends hours practicing the same trigger pull and the same breathing pattern. The elite writer doesn't wait for a vision. They sit in the same chair, at the same time, and type one word after another until the page is full. Big results are nothing more than the compounding interest of small, repeated actions. A book is just a collection of pages. A page is just a collection of paragraphs. A paragraph is just a collection of sentences. If you can write one good sentence, and you can do it again and again every single day, you will eventually have a library. The problem is that most people stop at page 5 because it's not exciting anymore. They want the finished book, but they hate the daily sentence. They want the destination, but they despise the walk. Do it again. The power of monotony. Mastery loves routine. Routine is the enemy of drama, and drama is the enemy of progress. When you have a disciplined routine, you eliminate the emotional highs and lows that cause most people to quit. Think about the New Year's resolutioner. On January 1st, they are full of drama. They are excited. They bought the new shoes. They have the new meal plan. They are going to change everything. They go to the gym for 3 hours, they eat nothing but kale, and they tell everyone about their new life. But by February 15th, the drama has faded. The gym is no longer a new playground, it's a chore. The kale tastes like grass. The excitement is gone. Because they relied on the high of novelty, they crash when the low of monotony hits. The disciplined person avoids the drama altogether. They don't go to the gym for 3 hours once. They go for 45 minutes every single day. They don't announce their plans to the world. They just show up and do the work. They have accepted that monotony is the price of admission for greatness. When you embrace the monotony, you stop looking for the hack. You realize that the hack is simply doing the work when you don't want to. It is the ability to look at a boring, repetitive task and say, "This is exactly where I need to be." Boring works. The plateau of latent potential. Most people quit right before the miracle happens. They work hard for a month, they look in the mirror, and they don't see a change. They work hard for 6 months, they look at their bank account, and the needle hasn't moved. They conclude that it's not working. But progress is rarely linear. It is a plateau of latent potential. You are putting in the work, you are building the foundation, but the results are being stored up. It's like heating an ice cube. You raise the temperature from 25 degrees to 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Nothing has happened. The ice is still a solid block. To an outside observer, you are wasting your time. Then, you hit 32 degrees. 1 degree of difference, the same amount of effort as all the previous steps, and the ice begins to melt. The breakthrough occurs. Was it the jump to 32 degrees that did it? No. It was all the boring work you did when the temperature was 26. Consistency is about trusting the process even when the results are invisible. Do it again. Romance the process. To survive the long haul of discipline, you must undergo a psychological shift. You must stop being obsessed with the applause and start being obsessed with the execution. You must learn to romance the process. The amateur is in love with the trophy. The professional is in love with the training. If you only find joy in the outcome, the promotion, the weight loss, the finish line, then 99% of your life will be spent in a state of dissatisfaction. You are essentially saying, "I will only be happy once I'm done." But once you're done, there's just another goal, another mountain, another target. The disciplined person finds their pride in the daily execution. They find a sense of quiet satisfaction in the fact that they did exactly what they said they were going to do. They find romance in the early morning silence, in the burn of the muscles, and in the clacking of the keyboard. When you fall in love with the work, the world loses its power over you. External validation becomes a nice to have, not a need to have. You are no longer performing for an audience. You are performing for the person in the mirror. Fall in love with the work. The death of the good day. We often hear people say, "I had a really good day of work today." Usually, what they mean is that they felt motivated, the coffee hit just right, and everything flowed easily. The disciplined person doesn't care about good days. They care about consistent days. A good day is a gift from the universe. A consistent day is a choice. If you only work on your good days, you will be outpaced by the person who works every day, even their mediocre days, even their bad days, even their "I just want to go back to bed" days. Consistency is the great equalizer. It allows the person with less talent to beat the person with more talent. It allows the turtle to beat the hare. Because while the hare is waiting for the perfect conditions to sprint, the turtle is just moving. 1 inch at a time. Boringly. Constantly. Do it again. Building the chain. The easiest way to master boring consistency is to never break the chain. Pick a task. A small one. Something so simple it's almost impossible to fail. Read 5 pages. Do 20 push-ups. Write for 10 minutes. Make 5 sales calls. Now, do it every day. Mark an X on a calendar for every day you complete it. After a week, you have a chain. After a month, the chain is long and strong. Your only job from that point forward is to not break the chain. It doesn't matter if the work you did today was your best work. All that matters is that the X goes on the calendar. This builds a different kind of confidence, not the confidence of I am the best, but the confidence of I am the person who shows up. This is the secret of the greats. They aren't superhuman. They are just the people who refused to stop when things got dull. They are the people who looked at the same boring tasks for a decade and said, again. Boring works. Do it again. Fall in love with the work. Summary of Chapter 4. The dopamine trap. Avoid the need for novelty. Success is found in the mundane. The power of repetition. Mastery is doing the basics better than anyone else. The plateau of latent potential. Understand that effort is being stored even when results aren't visible yet. Input versus outcome. Shift your focus from the trophy to the training. The chain. Use daily streaks to build an identity of reliability. Chapter 5. Protect your focus relentlessly. The war for your mind. We are currently living through a war that has no front lines, no uniforms, and no treaties. It is a war for your attention. Every app on your phone, every notification on your screen, and every recommended video in your feed has been engineered by thousands of the world's smartest people to do one thing: hijack your focus. In the modern world, attention is the new currency. If you cannot control where your mind goes, you cannot control what your life becomes. Discipline is no longer just about working hard. It is about protecting the sanctity of your mental space. A man who can work for 8 hours but checks his phone every 15 minutes is not a disciplined man. He is a distracted man masquerading as a productive one. If you want to achieve anything of significance, you must realize that focus is not a soft skill. It is a superpower. In an era of universal distraction, the person who can maintain deep, unwavering focus for long periods is the person who will own the future. Guard your mind. Attention is power. Think of your focus like a laser. A laser is simply light that has been concentrated into a single, narrow beam. While ordinary light spreads out and barely warms a surface, a laser can cut through steel. Your mind works the same way. When your thoughts are scattered across social media, news headlines, text messages, and emails, your mental light is weak. You are busy, but you are not effective. You are moving, but you are not cutting. There is a psychological cost to distraction called attention residue. Research shows that when you switch from a task, even for a quick 5-second glance at a text message, a part of your brain stays stuck on that message for up to 20 minutes. You might think you've returned to your work, but your cognitive engine is still idling on the distraction. If you check your phone 5 times an hour, you are never actually working with 100% of your brain. You are operating at a cognitive deficit. You are essentially working while drunk on distraction. Discipline is the refusal to pay that price. It is the understanding that just a second is never just a second. It is a betrayal of your primary objective. Guard your mind. Environment shapes discipline. The biggest mistake people make is relying on willpower to stay focused. They leave their phone on the desk, they leave 20 tabs open in their browser, they sit in a noisy room, and then they wonder why they don't have the discipline to stay on task. Willpower is a muscle, and it gets tired. If you have to use your willpower every 30 seconds to resist the urge to check a notification, you will eventually lose. The battery will run dry. The disciplined person doesn't have stronger willpower. They simply use less of it by designing an environment that makes focus easy. Structure beats willpower every single time. If you want to be a world-class focused individual, you must become a ruthless architect of your surroundings. If you are working, your phone should not be on your desk. It shouldn't even be in your pocket. It should be in another room, turned off, or in a drawer. If the phone is visible, your brain is subconsciously working to not check it, which wastes energy. If your workspace is cluttered, your mind will be cluttered. If your digital desktop is a mess of icons, your focus will be a mess of impulses. Discipline starts with the physical. It starts with the no you say to temptation before the temptation even arrives. Design beats desire. The myth of multitasking. We have been sold the lie that multitasking is a badge of honor. We see it on resumes and hear it in job interviews as if it's a sign of high intelligence. It is not. Multitasking is nothing more than the ability to screw up multiple things simultaneously. The human brain is not designed to multitask. It is designed to task switch. Every time you switch, you lose speed, you lose accuracy, and you lose depth. You might feel like you're getting more done because you're busy, but busy is often just a defense mechanism used to avoid the discomfort of deep work. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It is where the breakthroughs happen. It is where the high-value problems are solved. Deep work requires a level of intensity that multitasking cannot touch. Discipline is the courage to do one thing at a time. It is the ability to say no to the 5 other things that want your attention so that you can give 100% to the one thing that actually matters. When you are writing, write. When you are listening, listen. When you are exercising, exercise. One task. Full effort. The digital fast. We are living in an age of digital obesity. Just as our bodies were not designed for the infinite calories of modern junk food, our brains were not designed for the infinite information calories of the internet. We check our phones out of a nervous reflex. We scroll because we are bored, or lonely, or stressed. We have lost the ability to be alone with our own thoughts for even 60 seconds. This constant stimulation has fried our dopamine receptors, making boring work feel like torture. To reclaim your discipline, you must practice digital asceticism. You must set boundaries. No phones in the bedroom. No screens for the first hour of the day. No notifications on your watch or computer. Scheduled blackout periods where the internet is turned off. These are not restrictions. They are the walls of the fortress you are building around your mind. By limiting the input, you increase the quality of your output. When you stop consuming other people's thoughts, you finally have the space to generate your own. Guard your mind. Single task intensity. Intensity is the multiplier of time. The disciplined person can get more done in 2 hours of focused intensity than the average person gets done in a week of scattered effort. To achieve this intensity, you must define your daily win before the day begins. What is the one task that, if finished, makes the day a success? Once that is identified, you must protect that time with your life. You do not check email before the daily win is done. You do not answer quick questions. You do not jump on a call. You treat your focus like a sacred resource because it is a sacred resource. It is the only thing you truly own. Money can be lost and regained. Time can be managed. But once your attention is fractured, your ability to create value is gone. When you sit down to work, set a timer. Commit to 45 minutes of absolute, singular focus. No tabs, no phones, no music with lyrics, no interruptions. During those 45 minutes, nothing else in the world exists except the problem in front of you. One task. Full effort. The pride of the focused. There is a unique kind of pride that comes from a deep work session. When you emerge from 2 hours of intense, undistracted effort, you feel a sense of clarity and accomplishment that no amount of busy work can provide. This is the internal reward of discipline. It is the feeling of your brain operating at its highest capacity. It is the feeling of mastery. The world is full of people who are working but getting nothing done. They are the ones complaining about being burnt out while spending 4 hours a day on social media. Do not be one of them. Be the person who is hard to reach when they are working. Be the person who has their phone on Do Not Disturb as their default setting. Be the person who values their mind enough to protect it. Focus is the foundation of discipline. If you cannot control your eyes, you cannot control your hands. If you cannot control your hands, you cannot build a life. Guard your mind. Design beats desire. One task. Full effort. Summary of Chapter 5. The Attention Economy. Realize that your focus is being hunted by engineers and algorithms. Attention residue. Task switching leaves clutter in your brain that lowers your IQ. Environment over willpower. Move your phone, clear your desk, and design your space to make focus the default. The power of one. Reject multitasking. Success is found in the intensity of single tasking. Digital boundaries. Create sacred spaces and times where technology is not allowed. Chapter 6. Control your comfort. The Gilded Cage. We live in the most comfortable era in human history. We have climate-controlled homes, food delivered to our doors with a swipe of a finger, and an infinite supply of entertainment available at any moment of the day or night. We have spent thousands of years of human evolution trying to eliminate discomfort, and we have finally succeeded. But we have made a terrible bargain. In our pursuit of ultimate ease, we have accidentally created a gilded cage. You see, the human spirit was never designed for constant comfort. We are the descendants of hunters, explorers, and survivors. People who thrived on the edge of the unknown and who found their strength in the face of adversity. When you remove all friction from a person's life, you don't make them happy, you make them fragile. You make them anxious. You make them weak. Discipline is the act of stepping out of that cage. It is the realization that the easy life is actually the hardest life, because it leaves you unprepared for the reality of the world. If you want to be strong, you must learn to control your comfort before your comfort controls you. Comfort costs. The addiction to ease. Comfort is a slow-acting poison. It doesn't kill you all at once, it just erodes your potential one easy choice at a time. It starts when you choose the elevator instead of the stairs. It continues when you choose the snooze button instead of the morning run. It solidifies when you choose the distraction of a screen instead of the difficulty of a book. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you are casting a vote for a weaker version of yourself. You are telling your brain that your immediate feelings are more important than your long-term growth. This becomes an addiction. Just like a drug, the more comfort you consume, the higher your tolerance becomes. Eventually, even the smallest inconvenience, a slow internet connection, a rainy day, a slightly difficult task, becomes enough to derail your entire mood. The disciplined person understands that comfort is a reward to be earned, not a default state to be lived in. They recognize that an easy day today makes for a difficult year tomorrow. Comfort costs. Voluntary hardship. If you want to build a mind that is unbreakable, you cannot wait for life to challenge you. You must challenge yourself. You must practice what the Stoics called voluntary hardship. This is the intentional choice to seek out discomfort in order to strengthen the soul. Why would anyone do this? Why would someone take a cold shower when the water heater works perfectly? Why would someone fast for 24 hours when the fridge is full? Why would someone wake up at 4:30 a.m. to lift heavy weights? They do it because they are training for the war of life. They understand that if they can control themselves in the face of a cold shower, they can control themselves in the face of a business crisis. If they can handle the physical hunger of a fast, they can handle the emotional hunger of a long project that hasn't paid off yet. Voluntary hardship is vaccination for the spirit. By exposing yourself to small, controlled doses of discomfort, you build an immunity to the paralyzing effects of fear and laziness. You learn that discomfort is not an emergency. It is just a sensation. And sensations can be ignored. Choose hard. The cold shower principle. Consider the cold shower. It is perhaps the simplest and most effective tool for building daily discipline. There is no functional reason to take a cold shower. Hot water is more pleasant and cleans just as well. But every morning, as you stand in front of that handle, there is a moment of hesitation. Your brain screams at you. It offers 100 reasons why you should just have a nice, warm, relaxing wash. That hesitation is the voice of your weakness. By turning that handle to cold and stepping in, you are winning a battle over your own biology. You are telling your lizard brain, I am the boss here. You do not tell me what to do. I tell you. That victory might seem small, but it sets the tone for everything else. If you can beat yourself at 6 a.m. in the shower, you can beat the temptation to procrastinate at 10 a.m. in the office. You have proven that you are the master of your comfort. Choose hard. Delayed gratification. the superpower. The primary difference between those who succeed and those who fail is their relationship with time. The unsuccessful person is a slave to the now. They want the sugar now, the rest now, the entertainment now, the dopamine now. They live for the immediate hit. The disciplined person lives for the later. They understand the principle of delayed gratification. They are willing to endure the hard now so they can have the power later. This was famously demonstrated in the marshmallow test, where children were given a choice, 1 marshmallow now, or 2 marshmallows if they could wait 15 minutes. The children who could wait, those who could control their impulse for immediate comfort, grew up to be more successful, healthier, and more resilient in every measurable category. Discipline is simply the adult version of the marshmallow test. Every day, the world offers you a marshmallow. It offers you the chance to relax, to eat the junk, to skip the work. Discipline is the ability to look that marshmallow in the eye and say, "Not today. I want the 2 marshmallows tomorrow." Later is power, the muscle of resistance. Every time you say no to a comfort, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex. You are literally thickening the grey matter in the part of your brain responsible for willpower. When you sit at your desk and you feel the urge to check your phone, but you choose to stay focused on the work instead, that is a repetition. You just did a bicep curl for your brain. When you are tired and you want to order a pizza, but you cook a healthy meal instead, that is another repetition. Over time, this muscle of resistance becomes so strong that hard things no longer feel hard. They just feel like what I do. The person who has mastered their comfort doesn't have to fight themselves as hard as the beginner does. They have built an internal environment where discipline is the path of least resistance. Choose hard. The comfort of the grave. We must be careful not to mistake comfort for happiness. They are not the same thing. In fact, they are often opposites. True happiness comes from growth, from achievement, and from the knowledge that you are becoming a better version of yourself. None of those things can be found in a state of ease. Growth happens at the edges. Achievement happens in the struggle. If you spend your life avoiding discomfort, you are also avoiding the very things that make life worth living. You are trading your destiny for a comfortable couch. You are settling for a life of quiet desperation, as Thoreau put it, because you were too afraid to be uncomfortable for a few hours a day. Realize that the discomfort you are running from is actually your greatest teacher. The burn in your lungs during a run is the feeling of your cardiovascular system improving. The frustration of a difficult problem is the feeling of your brain expanding. The hunger of a fast is the feeling of your body cleaning itself. Stop viewing discomfort as an enemy to be avoided. Start viewing it as a price to be paid for the life you want. Comfort costs. Practical application. The 24-hour rule. To begin mastering your comfort today, implement the no comfort without effort rule. Do not eat until you have done at least 30 minutes of focused work. Do not check social media until you have completed your hardest thing first. Do not sit on the couch until you have cleaned your environment. Take at least 1 cold shower every day. By tying your comforts to your efforts, you rewire your brain to value them more. You move from being a consumer of ease to being an earner of rest. The disciplined man is not a monk who never enjoys life. He is a warrior who enjoys life more than anyone else because he has earned his enjoyment. He knows the sweetness of rest because he has known the salt of sweat. He knows the warmth of the fire because he has stood in the cold. Comfort costs. Choose hard. Later is power. Summary of Chapter 6. The trap of modern ease. Constant comfort leads to mental and physical fragility. Voluntary hardship. Seeking out small daily discomforts to vaccinate yourself against weakness. The power of no. Every time you resist a small temptation, you are physically strengthening your brain's willpower centers. Delayed gratification. Success belongs to those who can trade now for later. Earn your rest. Comfort should be a reward for effort, not a permanent state of being. Chapter 7. Build an unbreakable routine. The paradox of routine. There is a common misconception in our culture that a structured life is a boring life. We are told to be spontaneous, to go with the flow, and to live in the moment. We view a rigid daily routine as a kind of self-imposed prison, a cage that prevents us from being free. But the opposite is true. Spontaneity without a foundation of structure is not freedom, it is chaos. It is the freedom of a leaf blowing in the wind, having no control over where it lands. True freedom, the freedom to achieve your goals, to master your health, and to build a legacy, requires the rails of a routine. Discipline is the skeletal system of your life. Without a skeleton, you are just a shapeless mass, unable to stand, unable to move, and unable to resist the pressure of the world. A routine isn't a cage, it is the framework that allows you to build something that lasts. Structure creates freedom. The death of decision fatigue. The greatest enemy of a disciplined life is not a lack of effort, it is decision fatigue. Every morning, you wake up with a finite amount of mental energy. Every choice you make, from what shirt you're going to wear, to what you're going to have for breakfast, to which email you're going to answer first, drains that energy. If you do not have a routine, you are forced to make 1,000 tiny decisions before you even start your real work. By the time you sit down to tackle your hard thing, your brain is already tired. You have spent your best mental capital on the trivial, leaving nothing for the critical. The disciplined person eliminates these decisions through automation. They wear the same type of clothes. They eat the same breakfast. They wake up at the same time. They follow the same sequence of actions every single morning. When your morning is automated, you don't have to decide to be productive. You don't have to choose to work out. You just follow the script. This preserves your willpower for the things that actually matter, the creative problems, the difficult negotiations, and the intense focus required for mastery. Same time. Every day. Automation over emotion. We have already discussed that motivation is unreliable. If you rely on feeling like it, you will be inconsistent. A routine is the technology we use to bypass our emotions. Think of a train. A train does not need to feel motivated to get to its destination. It doesn't look at the weather and decide it's too cold to travel. It doesn't get writer's block or gym anxiety. Why? Because it is on tracks. The tracks dictate the direction and the destination. Your routine is your set of tracks. When you build an unbreakable routine, you remove the internal negotiator. You know that voice, the one that starts talking the moment the alarm goes off. It's okay, you can sleep in 10 more minutes. You worked hard yesterday, you deserve a break. The gym will still be there tomorrow. In a disciplined life, that voice is irrelevant. There is no debate. You don't negotiate with yourself because you've already made the decision. You made the decision weeks ago when you designed the routine. Now, your only job is to execute the program. No debate. The power of the bookends. The most important parts of your routine are the bookends. The first 60 minutes of your day and the last 60 minutes of your day. You may not be able to control every hour of the afternoon, as meetings run late and crises arise, but you can almost always control how you start and how you finish. The morning bookend is about input and intent. It is the offense part of your day. If you start your day by checking your phone, you are playing defense. You are reacting to other people's agendas, other people's problems, and other people's opinions. You have given away your power before you've even brushed your teeth. A disciplined morning routine is a ritual of self-mastery. It might include movement, silence, reading, or deep work. It is the time where you plant the flag and say, "This day belongs to me." The evening bookend is about reflection and preparation. It is where you shut down the engine. You review your wins and losses. You clear your desk. You write down the hard thing first for the next morning. By preparing for tomorrow tonight, you remove the friction of starting. You allow your subconscious mind to work on your problems while you sleep. If you control the bookends, the middle of the day tends to take care of itself. Same time. Every day. Momentum through repetition. Discipline is a compounding asset. The first day of a new routine is hard. The second day is slightly less hard. By the 21st day, it begins to feel normal. By the 90th day, it becomes part of your identity. This is the power of momentum. Once the train of routine is moving at full speed, it becomes very difficult to stop. It takes massive amounts of energy to get a train moving from a standstill, but once it's cruising, it can smash through a concrete wall without slowing down. Most people fail because they keep stopping and starting. They work hard for 3 days, then take 2 days off. They lose their momentum and have to spend all that activation energy just to get moving again. This is exhausting and inefficient. Discipline is about keeping the wheels turning. Even on your off days, maintain the core of your routine. Wake up at the same time. Eat the same healthy food. Keep the chain intact. Don't break the chain. The skeleton of success. Let's look at what an unbreakable routine actually looks like in practice. It is not about being a robot. It is about being a professional. Fixed wake-up time. This is the anchor of your day. If your wake-up time is inconsistent, your circadian rhythm is shattered, and your energy will be unpredictable. Immediate action. Do not check your phone for at least 60 minutes. Do the thing that requires the most mental clarity first. Time blocking. Don't work from a to-do list. Work from a calendar. Give every hour a job. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Uniformity. Simplify your choices. Meal prep. Standardize your workout. Automate the mundane. The shutdown ritual. Have a specific set of actions that tell your brain the workday is over. Close the laptop, clear the desk, and walk away. This structure does not stifle creativity, it fuels it. When you don't have to think about the basics of survival and organization, your mind is free to soar in the areas that actually require genius. Structure creates freedom. Dealing with disruption. Life will happen. You will get sick. You will have to travel. An emergency will arise. An unbreakable routine is not one that never changes. It is one that is resilient. The disciplined person has a travel version of their routine. They have a sick version. If they can't go to the gym, they do 20 minutes of bodyweight exercises in their hotel room. If they can't do 4 hours of deep work, they do 20 minutes of intense planning. The goal is not perfection. The goal is continuity. You never want to have 2 zeros in a row. 1 missed day is an accident. 2 missed days is the start of a new, bad habit. When life knocks you off the tracks, your only priority is to get back on as quickly as possible. Don't wallow in guilt. Don't wait for next Monday. Get back to the routine in the very next hour. Don't break the chain. The identity of the machine. Eventually, your routine becomes who you are. People will ask you, how do you do it every day? Isn't it hard? And you will realize that you don't even have an answer, because you don't think about it anymore. It has become as natural as breathing. You have transitioned from trying to be disciplined to being a person of routine. You have built an internal machine that produces results regardless of the external environment. This is the ultimate competitive advantage. While everyone else is waiting for inspiration, while they are negotiating with their alarm clocks, and while they are drowning in decision fatigue, you are already 3 miles down the track. You have already won, simply because you showed up. Same time. Every day. No debate. Don't break the chain. Summary of Chapter 7. The myth of spontaneity. True freedom is only possible within a framework of structure. Decision fatigue. Automate the trivial parts of your day to save your willpower for what matters. The bookends. Control your first and last hours to dominate the day. Continuity over perfection. Never have 2 zeros in a row. Keep the momentum moving. The shutdown ritual. Use an evening routine to prepare for a successful tomorrow. Chapter 8. Separate results from effort. The invisible gap. The greatest threat to your discipline is not laziness. It is not a lack of ambition. It is not even a lack of resources. The greatest threat to your discipline is your own expectation of how fast things should happen. We live in a culture of on-demand everything. We want our food in minutes, our information in seconds, and our success in weeks. We have been conditioned to believe that there is a direct, immediate link between the effort we put in and the results we get out. But life does not work like a vending machine. In a vending machine, you put in the coin, you press the button, and the snack falls down. It is transactional and immediate. Discipline, however, is more like planting a forest. You dig the holes, you plant the seeds, you water the soil, and you wait. For a long time, nothing happens. You look at the ground and all you see is dirt. You might even start to feel like a fool for working so hard on something that isn't showing any signs of life. This is the invisible gap. It is the period of time between the start of your work and the appearance of your results. Most people quit during this gap. They conclude that because they don't see a result, the effort isn't working. But the disciplined person knows better. They know that the work is never lost, it is simply being stored. Control the controllables. The result trap. When you tie your emotional state to your results, you are setting yourself up for a roller coaster of misery. If the stock market goes up, you're disciplined. If it goes down, you're depressed and you quit. If the scale shows a lower number, you're motivated. If it stays the same for 3 days, you give up on your diet. This is the result trap. It makes you a slave to external factors that you do not control. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control how a client will react to your proposal. You cannot control the genetics of your body or the opinions of the public. If your discipline depends on these things, your discipline will be as unstable as the world around you. The professional separates their effort from the outcome. They realize that the effort belongs to them, but the result belongs to time, luck, and the universe. By detaching from the outcome, they protect their ability to keep working. They don't work because they expect a specific reward today. They work because the work is the requirement. Control the controllables. Focus on what you control. Stoic philosophy teaches us the dichotomy of control. There are things you can change and things you cannot. Wisdom is knowing the difference, and discipline is caring only about the former. What do you control? You control your alarm clock. You control your intensity. You control your preparation. You control your honesty. You control your attitude in the face of failure. What do you not control? The score at the end of the game. The promotion. The viral success of your video. The speed at which your body burns fat. When you obsess over what you don't control, you create anxiety. When you focus on what you do control, you create power. If you are a salesperson, don't focus on making a sale. You can't force someone to give you money. Instead, focus on making 50 high-quality calls. You have 100% control over the number of calls. If you make the 50 calls and get 0 sales, you still won the day because you executed the task you controlled. The results will eventually catch up to the effort, but the effort must come first, and it must be done without the guarantee of a win. Control the controllables. Process over outcome. Success is a lagging indicator. It is the ghost of your past actions. The you that exists today is the result of the you from 6 months ago. Therefore, staring at your current results is like looking at a star in the night sky. You're seeing light that was emitted years ago. It's not the present reality, it's the past. If you want to change the future, you must ignore the present results and obsess over the present inputs. The elite athlete doesn't walk onto the field thinking about the trophy. They think about their footwork, their breathing, and their assignment. They trust that if they execute the process perfectly, the score will take care of itself. Discipline is the refusal to be distracted by the score. It is the ability to keep your head down and focus on the mechanics. If you are writing a book, the outcome is a bestseller. But you can't do a bestseller. You can only do 500 words. If you focus on the 500 words every day, the book becomes inevitable. Win the day. The win the day philosophy. Most people fail because their goals are too big and too far away. They think about the 50 pounds they need to lose, and the sheer distance between where they are and where they want to be causes them to quit. Discipline requires you to shrink your world. Stop thinking about the next year. Stop thinking about the next month. Hell, stop thinking about this afternoon. Your only job is to win the day. A win is defined by your adherence to your routine. If you hit your wake-up time, did your hard thing first, followed your diet, and protected your focus, you won. It doesn't matter if you didn't get a promotion today. It doesn't matter if you didn't see a change in the mirror. You won because you mastered your inputs. If you win enough days in a row, the outcome you desire will eventually find you. It has to. It is a mathematical certainty. But you must be willing to accumulate those wins in the dark, with no one watching and no immediate payoff. Win the day. Emotional detachment and equanimity. To be truly disciplined, you must develop a level of emotional detachment. You must stay level. In the world of elite military units, they talk about equanimity under duress. It is the ability to remain calm and steady regardless of whether things are going perfectly or everything is falling apart. If you have a massive win, you close a huge deal or you hit a new personal record, enjoy it for a minute and then get back to your routine. Don't let the success make you complacent. Don't let the high make you think you've arrived. If you have a massive loss, you get rejected or you fail publicly, analyze it for a minute and then get back to your routine. Don't let the failure make you quit. Don't let the low make you think you're a loser. The work is the constant. The routine is the anchor. Whether the world is cheering for you or laughing at you, your job remains the same. Do what must be done. Stay level. The lagging indicator of success. Think of the Chinese bamboo tree. After the seed is planted, you water it and fertilize it every day for 4 years, and nothing happens. There is not even a tiny sprout above the soil. Then, in the 5th year, the tree grows 80 feet in just 6 weeks. Did the tree grow 80 feet in 6 weeks? No, it grew 80 feet in 5 years. If at any point during those first 4 years the farmer had stopped watering the dirt, the tree would have died in the ground. Your discipline is currently growing roots. Just because you don't see the 80-foot results yet doesn't mean the work isn't happening. It means you are in the underground phase. This is where your character is built. This is where you prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who works for the sake of the work, not just for the sake of the applause. Control the controllables. The professional's mindset. The amateur works when they see results. The professional works so that they will see results. The amateur is an emotional responder. They are a leaf in the wind. The professional is a stone in the stream. The water may flow over them, the current may be strong, but the stone does not move. When you separate your results from your effort, you become dangerous. You become impossible to stop because failure doesn't discourage you and success doesn't soften you. You are just a machine that executes the process, day after day, after day. Stop checking the scale. Stop checking the view count. Stop checking the bank balance. Look at your calendar. Did you do the work? Did you follow the standard? Did you do what must be done? If the answer is yes, then you have already succeeded. The rest is just a matter of time. Control the controllables. Win the day. Stay level. Summary of Chapter 8. The invisible gap. Effort is a leading indicator. Results are lagging indicator. Expect a delay. The dichotomy of control. Stop worrying about outcomes you can't dictate. Obsess over your inputs. Process over outcome. Don't do a goal. Do the mechanics that lead to the goal. Equanimity. Stay steady through the highs and the lows. Don't let emotion dictate your output. The bamboo principle. Trust that the work you do in the dark is building the foundation for a sudden breakthrough. Chapter 9. Become the standard. The final evolution. Up to this point, we have treated discipline as a tool, something you pick up and use to fix your life, to reach your goals, or to overcome your weaknesses. But if you want to reach the highest level of human performance, you must move beyond using discipline as a tool. You must allow it to become your identity. There is a profound difference between a person who is trying to be disciplined and a person who is disciplined. The person who is trying is still in a state of conflict. They are still negotiating. They are still looking for a way out. They are essentially a person with bad habits who is attempting to perform good acts. But when you become the standard, the conflict ends. Discipline stops being a chore and starts being a character trait. It is no longer about what you do. It is about who you are. When you reach this stage, you don't need a motivational speech to get out of bed. You don't need a coach to tell you to work hard. You have become the source of your own power. That's not who I am. The linguistics of identity. The way you speak to yourself and about yourself determines the boundaries of your reality. Your brain is always listening to your self-talk, and it is constantly trying to align your behavior with the identity you have claimed. Consider the person trying to quit smoking. When someone offers them a cigarette, they might say, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." This sounds disciplined, but it is actually a declaration of weakness. By saying I'm trying to quit, they are admitting that they are still a smoker who is currently resisting an urge. Their identity is still tied to the habit. Now, consider the person who says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." This is a completely different psychological state. They aren't resisting anything because smoking is no longer part of their identity. There is no internal debate. There is no willpower required. This is how you must approach discipline. You are not trying to wake up early. You are an early riser. You are not trying to be productive. You are a producer. When a temptation or a distraction arises, your response shouldn't be, "I shouldn't do that." It should be, "I don't do that. That's not who I am." When you shift your identity, your behavior follows automatically. You stop acting out of obligation and start acting out of integrity. That's not who I am. Raising the baseline. Most people operate on a ceiling mentality. They look at the best they can possibly do and call that their goal. They try to reach the heights of their potential on their best days, but when life gets hard, they fall all the way back down to the floor. The disciplined person operates on a floor mentality. They don't care about their ceiling, they care about their baseline. Your baseline is your minimum acceptable standard. It is the level of effort and discipline you provide on your worst day, in your worst mood, in the worst conditions. Average people have a baseline of 0. If they don't feel like working, they don't work. If they are tired, they quit. Their baseline is at the mercy of their environment. To become the standard, you must raise your baseline so high that your bad day would be someone else's career best day. Your baseline must be, even if I'm sick, even if I'm grieving, even if I'm broke, I still show up. I still do the work. I still maintain my integrity. By raising the floor, you ensure that you never slide backward. You create a foundation of excellence that is unshakable. Excellence is not a peak you climb once. It is the ground you walk on every single day. This is the minimum. The internal police. In the beginning of your journey, you likely needed external accountability. You needed a trainer, a boss, or a spouse to keep you on track. You needed the fear of a deadline or the fear of embarrassment to make you move. But as you become the standard, you move toward self-governance. You develop an internal police force. This is a part of your consciousness that observes your actions with absolute coldness and honesty. It doesn't accept excuses. It doesn't care about your reasons. When you are alone in a room and no one is watching, do you still do the work? When you could easily cut a corner and no one would ever know, do you still do it the right way? The standard is what you do when you are invisible. If you skip a rep in the gym when your trainer isn't looking, you haven't gotten away with anything. You have actually done something far worse. You have proven to yourself that your standards are for sale. You have signaled to your subconscious that you are a fraud. A person of discipline would rather fail in front of the world than lie to themselves in private. They are their own harshest judge. They don't need a boss to hold them accountable because they would never dream of disappointing the person in the mirror. This is the minimum. Lead yourself first. Leadership is often misunderstood as a position or a title. People think they need a team to lead before they can practice leadership. But the most difficult person you will ever have to lead is yourself. Self-leadership is the precursor to all other forms of influence. If you cannot command your own hands to work, you have no business commanding others. If you cannot control your own temper, you cannot lead a family. If you cannot manage your own time, you cannot manage a company. There is a quiet power in a person who has mastered themselves. You don't have to shout to be respected. When you walk into a room and you are the most disciplined person there, when your health is a result of years of consistency, when your work is a result of relentless focus, people feel it. Discipline has a weight to it. It commands respect without saying a word. This is called leading by example. It is the most honest form of leadership because it requires no marketing. You aren't asking people to follow your words. You are asking them to follow your tracks. When you become the standard, you raise the level of everyone around you. Your children will see your work ethic and adopt it. Your employees will see your focus and emulate it. Your friends will see your health and be inspired by it. You don't have to fix other people. You just have to be the standard. Lead by example. The luxury of certainty. One of the greatest benefits of becoming the standard is the luxury of certainty. Most people live in a state of constant anxiety about whether they have what it takes. They wonder if they will be able to handle a crisis. They wonder if they will stay the course when things get hard. They are uncertain because they have no track record of self-mastery. But when you are disciplined every single day, you gain a deep, quiet certainty. You know exactly what you are going to do because you know exactly who you are. You don't have to wonder if you'll get the work done. It's already a foregone conclusion. You don't have to wonder if you'll stay disciplined in a crisis. You've been practicing for the crisis every morning at 5 a.m. for years. This certainty is the ultimate form of self-confidence. It isn't based on positive thinking or affirmations. It is based on a massive pile of evidence. You have thousands of wins stacked up behind you. You have proven to yourself, through a million tiny decisions, that you are a person who does what must be done. I do it because it's who I am. Establishing the new normal. Becoming the standard means that things that once felt like extraordinary effort now feel like the new normal. I remember a student who once told me, "I can't believe I used to think waking up at 7 a.m. was early. Now, if I'm not at my desk by 5:30, I feel like I've wasted half the day." This is the shift. You have recalibrated your internal thermostat. Your average is now higher than your old best. This is how you achieve long-term, sustainable greatness. You don't do it by occasionally being amazing. You do it by permanently moving your baseline of normal. Make average effort unacceptable. Make good enough a slur in your vocabulary. Refuse to be part of the unmet potential club. The world is full of people who could have been great. It is full of people who almost made it. Don't be one of them. Be the standard that they are measured against. This is the minimum. That's not who I am. Lead by example. Summary of Chapter 9. Identity shift. Move from trying to being. Your language should reflect a non-negotiable character trait. Raising the baseline. Focus on your worst day performance. Ensure your floor is higher than the world's ceiling. Internal accountability. Become your own judge and jury. The work you do in private is what defines your soul. Self-leadership. You cannot lead others until you have successfully led yourself through the fires of discipline. The power of evidence. True confidence is built on a track record of daily execution, not empty affirmations. Chapter 10. Do it again tomorrow. The illusion of the finish line. We have been conditioned by movies, sports, and stories to believe in the grand finale. We wait for the moment where the music swells, the trophy is lifted, and the credits roll. We have this subconscious belief that if we work hard enough for long enough, we will eventually arrive at a place where we can finally stop, a place where we are done being disciplined. But I am here to tell you the most important truth of this book. There is no finish line. Discipline is not a mountain you climb so that you can eventually sit at the top and look at the view. Discipline is the act of climbing itself. The moment you stop climbing, you don't stay at the top. You begin to slide back down. Success is not a destination. It is a state of perpetual maintenance. You don't brush your teeth once and expect them to stay clean forever. You don't eat one healthy meal and expect to stay fit for life. You don't have one productive day and expect to be a success. Discipline is a daily requirement. It is a debt that must be paid every single morning. The rent for your greatness is due every day, and the price never goes down. Every day. The trap of "I've made it." Complacency is the silent killer of greatness. It is far more dangerous than failure. Failure makes you hungry. Failure makes you look for a better way. But success makes you soft. Success makes you think that you can afford to skip the boring basics that got you there in the first place. Think of the champion who wins a title and then spends the off-season celebrating, eating poorly, and skipping the gym. They think they have earned the right to be undisciplined. Meanwhile, somewhere in the world, there is a hungry challenger who is doing the work that the champion is now too good to do. When they meet again, the challenger wins. Discipline must be independent of your current status. It doesn't matter if you have $0 in the bank or 10 million. It doesn't matter if you are at the bottom of the ladder or the very top. The requirements of excellence do not change based on your rank. The most disciplined people in the world are those who act like they are still at the bottom, even when they are at the top. They still wake up early. They still do the hard thing first. They still protect their focus. Why? Because they know that the moment they stop doing those things, they are no longer the person who deserves the success they have. Every day. Sustainability over intensity. In the beginning of a journey, people often make the mistake of the heroic burst. They try to change everything at once. They go from 0 exercise to 2 hours a day. They go from a poor diet to eating only steamed broccoli. They work 18 hours a day until their eyes bleed. This intensity is impressive, but it is rarely disciplined. Why? Because it isn't sustainable. Intensity is a sprint. Discipline is a marathon. If you run a marathon at a sprinter's pace, you will collapse at mile 2. Discipline is the art of finding a pace that is challenging enough to produce growth, but steady enough to be maintained forever. It is better to work out for 30 minutes every day for 10 years than to work out for 4 hours every day for 2 weeks and then quit. In the elite military community, they have a saying, slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. When you move too fast, you make mistakes. When you make mistakes, you have to stop and fix them. But when you move smoothly, with a steady, relentless, disciplined rhythm, you actually cover more ground in the long run. You avoid the burn and crash cycle. You build a momentum that is impossible to derail. Don't worry about being the fastest. Worry about being the one who is still moving when everyone else has burned out and quit. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. The legacy of the mundane. Your life is not defined by the 1 or 2 big decisions you make. It is defined by the 10,000 tiny, mundane decisions you make every single day. Every time you choose to get out of bed when you're tired, you are adding a brick to the wall of your character. Every time you choose the work over the distraction, you are strengthening the foundation of your future. Every time you choose the truth over the excuse, you are carving your legacy into the world. People will look at your life years from now and call it luck. They will see the finished monument and assume it appeared overnight. But you will know the truth. You will know that the monument is made of millions of boring moments where you chose discipline over comfort. Your habits are the architects of your destiny. If you want to know where you will be in 5 years, don't look at your goals, look at your daily routine. Don't look at what you intend to do. Look at what you did today. Do it again. The strength of the second half. Discipline is easy when you're fresh. It's easy in the first half of the game, in the first week of the year, or in the first hour of the workday. The real test of discipline happens in the second half. It happens when you're tired, when the novelty has worn off, and when the finish line is still miles away. This is where the world is divided into 2 groups, those who are interested and those who are committed. The interested person does the work as long as it's convenient. The committed person does the work until it's done, and then they wake up and do it again. When you feel like quitting, remember that the second half is where the separation occurs. This is the moment where you pull away from the pack. This is where you prove that you aren't just a starter, but a finisher. But remember, even when you finish the task, you aren't done. You have simply earned the right to face the next challenge. Do it again. The ritual of the reset. Every night when you go to sleep, your discipline bank account resets to 0. It doesn't matter how hard you worked yesterday. It doesn't matter how many sales you made or how many miles you ran. Tomorrow is a new game. This can be a terrifying thought, or it can be a liberating one. If you had a bad day today, if you failed, if you were lazy, if you made excuses, the reset is a gift. Tomorrow is a clean slate. You can choose to be a different person starting at 5 a.m. If you had a great day today, if you were a hero, if you were productive, if you were perfect, the reset is a warning. Tomorrow, you have to prove it all over again. You cannot live on yesterday's glory. The disciplined person approaches every morning with the white belt mindset. They are forever a student. They are forever hungry. They never assume they have arrived. They wake up, they look at the mountain, and they start climbing. Every day. The final charge. You now have the blueprint. You know that you must stop waiting to feel ready. You know that you must do the hard thing first. You know that you must eliminate excuses, master the boring, and protect your focus. You know that you must control your comfort and become the standard. But knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. The real power is in the execution. The world doesn't care what you know. It doesn't care what you plan to do. It only cares about what you do. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. It is the ultimate act of respect for the gift of your life. By being disciplined, you are saying to the universe, I will not waste this opportunity. I will not leave my potential on the table. I will become everything I was meant to be. As this book ends, your work begins. Or rather, your work continues. Go to bed tonight with the satisfaction of having done what must be done. And then, wake up tomorrow. Ignore the feelings. Attack the resistance. Maintain the standard. And then, do it again. Every day. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Do it again. Summary of Chapter 10. No arrival. Discipline is a lifelong practice, not a destination. The rent is due. Every morning you must re-earn your success. The sustainability rule. Aim for a pace you can maintain for decades, not weeks. The reset. Understand that every day is a new game. Yesterday's wins and losses don't matter once the sun comes up. The ultimate secret. The secret to discipline isn't a hack or a trick. The secret is simply the refusal to stop.